If you've ever been part of a DTS outreach, you know that feeling, right? That desire to go out and share God's love with the world. But what if the way we've been trying to help vulnerable children maybe isn't the best way? Today, we're going to dig into a different approach, one that shifts our focus from visiting orphanages to actually strengthening families. It's a small tweak in strategy, but believe me, it has a massive impact.
Look, I get it. Your heart is absolutely in the right place. We see a need, and our first instinct is to jump in and help. That's what it's all about. But we have to be willing to ask the tough questions, Are our good intentions actually leading to good results? Or could we be, completely by accident, supporting a system that's keeping families apart?
At the end of the day, the goal is so simple. We want to share God's love and join in with what He's doing around the globe. And for so many of us, that pull is strongest towards the most vulnerable, which is why we're so drawn to helping children.
And when we think about helping kids in need, our minds almost automatically go to orphanages. It's a natural, almost knee-jerk reaction. But what if there's a much bigger story that we've been missing? Let's take a closer look together.
And this is where we have to get really honest. It's time to shift our focus from our intentions, which are good, to our actual impact. Are our actions truly helping children thrive in the long run, or are we unintentionally propping up a system that separates them from their families?
To really get to the bottom of this, we need to bust a huge, widespread myth. I call it the orphanage myth. It's this idea that so many of us have, and it dramatically shapes how we try to help. So let's pull back the curtain and see what the numbers really tell us.
So here it is. The myth is basically this. We assume that orphanages are filled with orphans, children who have no living parents. I mean, it's right there in the name, right? But the reality, well, it's something totally different.
80%. Just let that number sink in for a second. This single statistic changes everything. Let's break down what it really means.
Okay, so get this. A staggering 80% of children living in orphanages worldwide have at least one living parent. Most of the kids we're meeting on outreach aren't orphans in the way we think. They're sometimes called social orphans, which means they have family, but circumstances have pulled them apart. So the big question is, if their parents are alive, why on earth are they in an institution? Well, it's almost never because they're unloved or unwanted. It comes down to crisis. It's families struggling with extreme poverty, unable to afford food. It's parents who think an institution is the only way their child can get an education. Or it's families who just can't get the specialized medical care their child needs.
Once you understand that, you start to see how even the most well-intentioned orphanage system can have some really tough consequences. And listen, this isn't just an opinion. This is based on decades of solid research into what helps children flourish and what really doesn't.
Yeah, for over 60 years, that's a long time. The research has been crystal clear. Growing up in an institution, even a good one, can have a lasting negative impact on a child's health, their brain development, and their entire future.
This slide just lays it out so starkly. The gap between what we hope to achieve and what actually happens. We want to provide a safe home, right? But the reality is that life in an institution often leads to serious attachment issues. If you've ever seen a child who runs up and hugs any stranger who walks in the door, that's not cute. It's actually a heartbreaking red flag.
And honestly, it gets worse. Our good intentions can accidentally fuel a really harmful cycle. A high demand from volunteers like us can create a market for orphans, turning some institutions into businesses. And for the kids, it's just a constant cycle of heartbreak, forming attachments to visitors who, inevitably, always leave.
Okay, so what's the alternative? This is the good part. Let's look at what the Bible actually says about family. Because this isn't just about what social science tells us is best. It's about aligning our hearts and our actions with God's design for children.
I absolutely love this verse from Psalm 68. It says, God settles the solitary in a home. A home, not an institution, not a dormitory, a home. That is God's ultimate desire for every single child.
The Bible is so clear that we are called to care for the orphan, no doubt about it. But what if the most powerful way to care for orphans is to prevent children from becoming orphans in the first place? That means getting upstream of the problem and helping families stay strong and stay together.
So what does all of this look like on the ground for us? How can we shift from being well-meaning volunteers to being truly wise and effective volunteers? Let's get into some practical ways we can make a real lasting difference. Here are 4 fantastic, powerful ways to get involved. Instead of focusing on an institution, you can bless an entire community. Run a community fun day with games and sports.
Assemble support packs with food and essentials for struggling families. Start a homework club in a local park. Or offer to share a skill in a workshop for parents. All of these build families up. And this isn't just a nice idea, it works. Let me tell you about Anu Silas in India. She used to run a children's home, but she realized she could make a much bigger impact by tackling the root of the problem. So now her ministry creates jobs for poor families so they can afford to keep their kids. She's not just rescuing kids, she's preserving families. It's incredible.
Now, of course, there are times when a child needs temporary emergency care. If you're ever in that kind of short-term setting, the absolute best thing you can do is focus on relationships. Don't show up with a suitcase full of gifts or make promises you can't keep. Just be present. Listen. Tell stories. Play. Be a stable, fun, and loving presence for them.
So, here's the bottom line. Our goal is exactly the same, but our strategy has to be smarter. We still want to pour out God's love on the most vulnerable people in the world. And now we know the best way to do that for children is by supporting and strengthening their families. The question isn't if we should help. The real question is how. How will you help bring the lonely home?